Hello everyone, I'm Gary Michaels and this channel is dedicated to new comedians. If you're starting out in your comedy career, I urge you to hit the subscribe button and join the community we have here. I've got tons of videos on comedy performance, comedy writing and even career development. So even if you haven't done your first gig yet or you've done 500 of them, I think there's going to be something beneficial on this channel for you. Okay, with that being said, let's get into step number one, which is understanding how to structure a joke, how to structure comedy within your set. How you're going to start off doing this is you are just going to write down pieces of information about yourself. You are not going to include any jokes when you first do this. This is just a technique to get information about yourself onto the paper. And after you've done that, you can step back and see where you are going to put some punchlines into the material about yourself. Now, of course, the punchlines are not going to be great at the beginning, but that's perfectly fine. The more consistent you write, the better the punchlines will become. But at the moment, it's not about writing the funniest material you can. It's about learning how to write in your own way. So what I want you to do is write all the information down first. Let's say we stick with the topic of what you do for a living or what you would like to do for a living. Maybe 3-4 minutes spending writing down all of the information you can. And then I want you to look back. And every time you make a point, I want you to now put in a different observational point of view about what it is you said. Now, what I mean by that is if you say, I like what I do for a living because of this, I want you to completely change it and turn it around on its head and have the opposing point of view be the punchline. We give them a little bit of information about ourselves and then we turn around that point of view on its head, and that alone will act as the punchline. Again, it's not going to be hilarious when you first do this, but I guarantee you 5 or 6 times in 10 minutes you are going to write a much funnier punchline if you just keep rewriting that one sentence in a slightly different way. And each time you write it, you think to yourself, what can I bring into this piece of information that will allow me to get to the punchline? And how can I make this punchline hit a little harder? Every single time you rewrite it, that's what you're going to be doing. Step number 2 is to always keep the material as relatable as possible. You are trying to connect at all times with everybody in the room. If your audience connects with you, they will like you. If they like you, they will find you funny. So they will not connect with you if you start talking about topics that you know something about, but you are leaving them behind. If you have to give them too much information before you get to the punchline, the whole bit is just not worth it. If you are finding yourself having to give them very little information because they already are up to speed on what it is you're talking about, well, you're going to be able to get to the punchline much quicker. And getting to the punchline quicker is always going to be better no matter what. Even if you have the most interesting story of something that happened to just you and why it's only unique to you, save it, leave it for further down the line when you're better at storytelling on stage. For now, at the beginning, stick to getting to the punchline as often as possible. So keep it relatable, keep it simple, and get to the laughs. Step number 3 is to always practice writing concisely. Get to the point, take out any words or sentences that you feel might not be 100% necessary. Sometimes if you're talking about current affairs, you only need to mention the title of the current affair and then you can go straight into the smaller details and immediately what you find funny about the situation. Because what I see about inexperienced comedians is they feel the need to over-inform the audience in front of them. They really want to catch the audience up to speed because they feel if I don't give you this amount of information, you're not going to understand the punchline. But if your punchline needs that much information, it's probably not a very strong punchline. Now, you might think, well, if I use a very generic punchline, Isn't everybody already thinking that and I want to get something a bit more unique? Well, yes, they might already be thinking that, but this is the beginning of your career. Say the punchline everybody is thinking of. It's a great beginning stepping stone to have rather than at the beginning of your career trying to be really smart and actually leaving them, because if you come up with a really smart punchline, you might need to give them a little bit more information and you're not there yet. Enjoy the beginning of your career by making it easy for yourself and smashing the gig in an easy way rather than trying to give them too much information because you have this one punchline that you think is great, but you don't have the experience in front of an audience getting 80% of the people laughing at consistent jokes for an hour. So you don't yet know if it's a genuinely good punchline. You might just be told by one person or even yourself. I've been there before. Always better to keep it simple. If it's a line everybody in the room is thinking about, say it anyway. It's still going to get a laugh. People are not going to not laugh just because they have thought of it in their head. If anything, it might even get a bigger laugh because they think of it in your head. You're the one with the microphone. You say it. It sounds like you've got there first. And even if it doesn't sound like that, it sounds like you are the leader of the pack and you are saying out loud what is also in everybody else's head. Either way, you win. Step number 4 is to practice and play around with delivery and timing. While you're on stage, I want you to pay attention to your body language and to the flow of the words you are saying. Depending on the style of act you are going to be, this needs to be in check with how you are perceived on stage. So try from the beginning to figure out who it is you are on stage. And there's a few different factors at play here. You can be one person that you consider on stage, and the audience might perceive you to be different. And the only way you're going to find out exactly how the audience perceive you and how you are and how you want to be perceived is if you really focus on the overall package. Sure, you need to have your material learned off, but you also need to know how are you going to address with your body language and your timing and your overall pace on the stage. You need to address that and it needs to be congruent with what you're saying. So if you're a madcap performer that is going from topic to topic and it's all very crazy, quick bursts of energy, well, your persona needs to say the same. Obviously, the same goes for if you're an introverted person and you rely more on the storytelling and the heavy writing side and you're very calm on stage and you might not even be great at eye contact, which is perfectly fine for a comedian. Don't think you can't do it just because you're a shy person. You can. You just have to rely on other elements of stand-up comedy, such as the writing rather than being a larger-than-life character on stage. All of these can work for you perfectly well, but you need to know who it is you are before going on stage. And by just simply paying attention to the timing and delivery and the pacing of what you do while you're up there is going to benefit you greatly. So while you're up there, understand that the audience are not only judging you, but if you win them over, they are enjoying watching you. So there's two very, very different things happening there. Are they judging you or are they interested in going on the journey with you and enjoying the set? If they're judging you, it means that you haven't won them over with the entire package yet. And if they can all relax and have a good laugh, it means you're on the right track. So always be paying attention. Step number 5 is to seek constructive feedback about your performance. Always be open to what people are going to tell you about your set. This is a very difficult one because as a new comedian, you're going to turn up and you're going to get a lot of people telling you what they think you should do. And a lot of the time, because we haven't developed yet and we can't see many possibilities of how we can go about performing, we kind of tend to shut down on anyone else's perception of how we should go about our business when we're on stage. That's a perfectly fine default position to have, and you're not the only one to have it. Everybody has that. Everybody shuts down when someone else tells them what they should be doing, especially with something as intimidating as stand-up comedy. However, there is genius within the information nearly everybody tells you about. I'm not saying they're all 100% correct, but the way they tell you to go about it will work because they see it And well, they're just like you. They're also starting out. Maybe they don't have as much experience that you do. Maybe they have way more experience than you do. But the truth is, if you were to follow all of their advice and do it their way, it will work. So they are perceiving your style of comedy to work in the way they understand. So I'm not telling you to do it 100% what they say, but I am telling you to open up your mind to the ideas that they tell you when they give you information, because it's about getting better. And I certainly wouldn't be the performer I am if I didn't spend most of my time sitting in pubs, learning from other comedians, learning from other performers, trying to gain as much information from performers that are far better than me that I possibly can, so I can go out and do the kind of a job that they can do and win over that amount of people at every single gig. So if somebody offers you great, valuable information, don't think it's not worth it. It usually is. Always be open to constructive feedback about your performance. Step number 6 is to always record your performance and even record some of your rehearsals. Never go to a gig without some form of recording the set. A lot of comedians tend to just do the audio only, and that's okay. It's not great. It's far more beneficial to you if you have a camera and you record the whole set, because as I've mentioned already, it's not just about the jokes. It's going to be about your whole demeanor on stage, your whole personality, because it's not just the fact that you have words on a piece of paper. You are trying to connect with them using a lot more than just that. Using the body language, using the stage and the space awareness and how you hold a microphone, and all of these things are going to be up to you as you develop. You're going to have reasons as to why you do things differently than anyone else, and you're going to have reasons as to why some of the basics mean more to you than others, because that's the kind of act that you're going to be. You don't yet know who that is because you have to develop that much. But always record your set, because if you record your set, you look at it back, it will be very clear to you what you need to change for the first time. So from the very early days, I would urge you to get good and comfortable in front of the camera as you're on stage. Watch it back and benefit greatly. I am going to give you one final tip, and that is to stay persistent. You have the ability to become the comedian you want to be. Absolutely no questions about it. I have seen so many different styles of comedy, so many different styles of people telling me that they don't think that they have what it takes, or that, well, I used to have this experience, but stand-up comedy is a whole different thing and I wouldn't be able to do that. Well, that's all rubbish. It's all just the bullshit stories you're telling yourself. All you need to do is write out a very basic set, couple of jokes in it, and get on stage for the first time. Being on stage for the first ever time is just about being on stage for the first ever time. You don't need to be the funniest you're ever going to be. You don't need to make the whole room full of people laugh. If that all happens, great. It's most likely not going to happen. It's just about getting up there, holding the microphone, and gaining the experience of what it's like to stand on stage in front of a lot of people and try and make them laugh. That alone is going to be enough for you to think about in your first few times on stage. And after that, you will have the experience to know, well, this joke here is slightly better than this joke here, and this joke here is slightly, well, misplaced, and you begin to have a bit of an understanding about the very basic set you created. Now you can change it up a little bit depending on the style of comedy you want to do. You can start adding more of your own flavor into it. So that's it. It wraps it up in a nice little short video for you. I hope you've gained a lot of value from the video. I hope you consider joining the community, hit the subscribe button, and if there's any topic of comedy that you would like me to cover, let me know in the comment section and I will do my best to make that video for you. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.